Frequent Miler on the Air starts now. Today's main event, Hyatt makes it crazy easy to earn top tier status. We'll get all over that soon. Of course, we have the giant mailbag first. Today's mail comes from several readers who commented on a show we did a few weeks ago where we talked about retention offers. And in that show, we said that most retention offers don't have a requirement to keep the card like forever. And that usually as long as you keep it until you get the bonus, that's the only requirement that's there. A few people wrote in saying, not so fast. Amex retention offers specifically state that you must keep the account open for 12 months from receiving the bonus, or else it can get clawed back. So I don't know if that's true of all Amex offers. Retention offers, I haven't paid that close of attention to them when I get them. I know that when when I'm on the phone and the rep starts reading the terms and conditions, I
Just
totally
out,
zone
right?
out. Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm done. I got the retention offer. Now I can,
Right.
just sit here and
Relax.
say, and wait for them to say, do I have your permission? And I'm like,
See, I don't even hear that. I just wait for the pause.
yes.
Whenever the pause comes, I'm like, yes. Must be my
Exactly.
part.
You just hope you're saying yes to the right thing and not
Right,
something
hopefully.
catastrophic.
Hopefully.
Like, we have your permission to shut down all your accounts and take back all your points.
Wait a second.
Yes.
That's not what I called about.
Right. I shouldn't have pressed option C. What was I doing?
They got me with the new menu. So I guess I haven't actually seen that term, but I could believe that it would be there from Amex, so it's not unbelievable.
And the thing is with Amex, you'd want to keep it for a full year anyway,
Right.
just because their terms and conditions for all their cards basically say they can take back your points for any reason whatsoever at any time, and
they've really gotten into doing that. So
and they do that, and so what seems to be safe in these type of situations is at least wait till after your next annual fee hits and you pay it, at least it's on the statement before you cancel for the next year.
Yeah.
And then you won't have to pay it.
Right. So all right. So good point to always check the terms and conditions of whatever it is that you agree to. So that's probably good. You probably should listen closer than Greg and I do on the phone. But also I would say that probably the reason we haven't listened all that closely is because generally when we get a retention offer, I don't know. Usually I am going to keep the card. I'm not intending to cancel it. I just want an offer to be able to keep it. Right. So I don't really listen that closely because I don't intend to close it afterwards. I figure you probably could, but I'd like to get another offer next year. So why would I do that?
Right. There also, there's a sense sort of an implicit agreement, even if it's not explicit, that you're going to keep it.
Right.
So anyway, I also have another segment today. I'm throwing in a little added bonus.
Bonus segment.
A gift for all of our listeners and watchers. Free gift for everyone.
Happy holidays.
You register by December 16th. Here's a gift. It's a prediction for something that I think is going to happen next year. Hopefully next year, sometime next year, I expect that travel will open up, meaning not meaning that everybody's going to start traveling again, but rather that we will no longer be prevented from traveling to places we want to go, that most countries at some point next year will allow us to come again and we'll be allowed to go there. When that happens, what I expect will happen is we will see a return of Amex and hopefully Citi as well, transfer bonuses to airlines. Throughout the pandemic, we've seen some hotel transfer bonuses from Amex, but most airline transfer bonuses have not come from Amex or Citi. Like there have been a few, but I think they've all been initiated on the airline side. And
Seems
so,
that way,
we've been missing those transfer bonuses to Virgin Atlantic and everything. And I think we're going to see sort of a flood of them once once there's sort of an all clear for travel. So
Yeah, I
keep
think
that in
that's a
mind. We'll see
good
if that
prediction.
comes true or not.
I think that's probably a good prediction. You said that we've been missing them, and I was thinking as you were saying that I haven't been missing them because
No,
I don't
that's
really
true.
want to be transferring right now. So I'm kind of glad. Hang on to the Amex if you're listening. Hang on to those. Like wait until we're ready to travel again, then throw them all down the pipe all at once, and that'd be okay with me when I'm ready to actually transfer and book something. So
Right. It's a really good point about the way I phrased that very few have been actually missing them.
right, no.
Maybe someone who's been trying to save up for their Necker Island trip, which now
Right.
costs 1.5 million miles. They could use those transfer bonuses.
Surely. But in most cases, yeah, I
Most
don't want to
cases,
lock
yeah.
up my points in a currency that is a one-way transfer anyway right now. So, but I hope that you're right on the other half of the prediction. I'm certainly hopeful that you're right that travel will begin to open back up next year, and I'm looking forward to that, and remain hopeful that it comes true.
Me too. It wasn't that long ago that the world felt very small and that we could, get everywhere easily.
Right.
And now it feels quite the opposite, that we're
Yeah.
in our little part of the world, but isolated. So,
Right.
yeah, looking
Yep.
forward to that changing.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
So
what
that brings us
crazy
then
thing?
the crazy thing. Yeah. What crazy thing? What crazy thing did City or someone else City-ish do this week?
Right. What crazy thing did American Airlines do this week? Tell us all
Wow.
about that.
Well, American Airlines decided to be really generous, and
Yeah.
they spent days kind of putting out the word that they're going to give a holiday gift to all of the members. Every member is going to get a holiday gift. All you got to do is show up, log in, click around, whatever in your account, and you're going to get a gift from American Airlines. So they advertised this and got everybody excited about, what's the free gift coming from American Airlines. I mean, I could sense that some people were wondering, am I going to get free airline elite status? Am I going to get
Right.
a global upgrade? Am I going to get something worth more than $1? And they were all sadly mistaken because, of course, American gave most people 100 miles, which
100 miles. So how
even if
far
you
can
wanna-
you go?
Yeah,
If you want to redeem an award ticket, how far can you go with that?
I mean, you can probably taxi to the runway. That's and that's it. They're gonna throw you out the window at that point. You don't have
What
enough
about those
to
web
afford.
special awards though? Couldn't you go to Australia on
No,
a
they're not quite that special.
No.
No. So even
Oh,
if you were
man.
to value the miles at what American tells you they're worth, it's like $2, right?
Right.
Which, I mean, hey, they got millions of members. Don't get me wrong. I mean, what did you expect? I mean, what did you think they were going to give everybody? You can't give everybody a brand new car, right? So, it had to be probably something small. But I think it's fair to say that most people thought, why did you even tell me you were going to give me a gift just to give me $1? Right? I feel like that's what most people think, right?
I mean, I think it would have been right. I mean, I still think it's good. I mean, maybe the way it was messaged is the problem. So if it was just a surprise, hey, there's a little something for you,
right,
as a gift. Click here to see what it is. Then everybody would be like, just oh, cool. I got got 100 miles. It doesn't mean much, but at least it resets my expiration date for my miles, right?
Right.
I assume.
I assume so too, and probably they could have marketed that and said, "Hey, now this totally resets your expiration, so you don't have any fear about your miles expiring over the next year." But I mean, they could have played that up a little bit or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Although that might just point out that their miles do expire, which is probably something they don't want to shed light on, given that more and more airlines have miles that don't.
Right.
So
yeah. I will say, in fairness, I did get a preferred seat coupon, and so did my wife. And that's something that we would probably enjoy if we were actually traveling, especially the two kids now. But of course, given the number of flights we have booked in the next few months,
yeah,
zero. Not too excited about my preferred seat coupon. I think that's only you get a seat a little bit closer to the front, right? I mean, I don't think it's not a main cabin extra coupon. It's just a preferred seating coupon.
Well, when does it expire?
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't look that closely.
Probably the fine print says expires the day before you actually fly again.
Right. I think that's what it said, actually, now that you mention it. so thanks, American Airlines. That was check. Some people did get 500-mile upgrade certificates. I did see some, but Live and Let's Fly maybe reported that they got 4 of those 500-mile upgrade certificates, which, I mean, hey, I guess you could toss that together and get an upgrade.
That's not bad. Yeah.
That's not bad at all. So some people did get something. All right, in fairness.
Right.
Fairness.
And, I got 100 miles. Stephen Pepper got 250. And so,
Right.
I did a lot of hard math and worked out that Stephen is worth 2.5 times me, so, at least from American Airlines point of view. But that's fair because he has top tier elite status for all that he flies with American,
right.
which is zero.
He can taxi all the way to the far runway.
But of course, he has top tier status because last year, or I guess now maybe it was the year before. I don't know. I'm losing track of things, but I think it was last year. American Airlines gave top tier status to a lot of Hyatt top tier elites, and Stephen had Hyatt Globalist status. He and his wife travel full time in their car around the U.S., so they don't fly hardly ever, and so he has a status that there's not a lot he's doing with, but assuming that's going to be valuable again, then it's suddenly kind of exciting, the prospect of, wow, if only we could get, top tier status, could we get benefits not just with Hyatt, but also things like magic gifts of top tier status with an airline.
Right. And with that, combined with that 250 miles, he can go places.
Right.
Not very many, but somewhere. So
maybe, I don't know whether American lets you buy drinks and stuff like that in their clubs the way Delta does with miles.
I don't think so. I think that's unique to Delta. I think that's I think that's a unique Delta thing. Yeah. I'm pretty sure anyway. So
that's one of the rare places where Delta miles are consistently worth more than a penny. They're worth about 2 cents each towards drinks, and so you could buy premium drinks and even tip the bartender with miles, and they'll get 2 cents to every mile, which is kind of an interesting perk that Delta has there.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So that brings us then to Mattress Running the Numbers. Mattress Running the Numbers this week. What are we talking about?
So this week, speaking of transfer bonuses, which I brought up earlier, American Express has transfer bonuses to both Marriott and Hilton. So you've always long been able to transfer Amex membership rewards points to both of those programs, and now you can get a few more hotel points when you do the transfer. So what we're going to talk about is basically, is it worth it? Should we be transferring our membership rewards points to either of these programs while the bonus is in place? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's a really exciting opportunity to get your hands on some top tier. No, I can't even lie for like 3 sentences.
No,
it's terrible. Terrible.
It's terrible.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Can't even make up a reason why you'd want to do this. No.
Right.
Please don't.
So 2 thumbs down. So the problem for us in planning this episode is that there actually is the ultimate mattress run opportunity to talk about, but that's our main event.
Right.
And so we couldn't do it for Mattress Running the
Numbers. Stretch for something else. Yeah. But it's worth pointing out to people why you don't want to do this, right? Because there might be somebody out there who says, oh, well, I mean, I can take my membership. I'm earning 4 membership rewards points per dollar at the grocery store on the Amex Gold Card, and now I can transfer them to Hilton, and what is it, 2,800 to 1,000. So you're getting like almost 12 points per dollar, right? So I mean, that's not too shabby, right? That's a pretty good return, one might think, except when you consider the fact that you can buy those points for half a cent each, like basically all the time, and almost to an unlimited degree, because you can pool them with 9 other people. So each person can buy like, I don't know how many, lots and lots of Hilton points every year. So more than you'll probably ever need at half a cent each. So if you really wanted Hilton points, you could open a Schwab Platinum card and cash out your membership rewards points at 1.25 cents each and buy the points when you actually wanted the points, or have a cash back card that you earn cash back in order to do that with and get a good return. So you don't want to do that with your membership rewards points. There's too many more valuable uses. The same kind of thing with Marriott.
Exactly. I mean, there are probably situations where you can concoct specific situations where it makes sense, but but to do it prospectively, just no way.
No way. No way.
There's too much potential value in your membership rewards points compared to the potential in the Hilton or Marriott.
Right. So all right. So don't do that, guys. All right. Let's ignore that. And let's move on to the real Mattress Run story, right? Because I mean, that's what we got to talk about. Everybody's been talking about it all week long. Super exciting. Hyatt has just made this whole globalist. They like blew the roof off this whole globalist thing, saying, come do your mattress runs. Like you were tempted at 30 nights. Ha! We'll one up it.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. So this is so
happened.
crazy. So we've been talking for many months now about Hyatt's overlapping promotions, where they had promotions that overlap through January 4th before. That was the end date for these promos, and one of the promos lets you get elite nights for the nights you stay, plus they would match them for 2021, and by checking out of the hotel next year, it basically effectively gave you double elite nights. And so you were able to schedule a 30-night mattress run where you checked out on January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, and would earn 60 elite nights from that stay. 60 elite nights is how many you need for Hyatt's top-tier globalist elite status, which is a level of status we rave about all the time. We've talked endlessly about it, so I won't go into too many details here, but it gives you true really valuable perks, like real full breakfast at every Hyatt you stay in. It gives you things like wave parking, which could be incredibly valuable in cities like New York City and stuff. And anyway, let's not go into all of them. But the point was, we had a way to get to that status for half the number of nights. Plus, you would earn either a lot of points back if you paid for the stay with points, or you would earn a lot of extra bonus points for the stay if you paid with cash, because of all these overlapping promotions. Well, now what have they done? First, they've pushed these promotions through to end of February. So now you don't have to do a single stay where you check out in the beginning of January. You could do any number of little stays if you want real actual separate stays, January through February, and you get double elite nights during that time. And you get all those same extra points that I was talking about before. But that's not all. That's not even close to all.
That's not even close to it.
That's not the headline. The headline is, it no longer takes, at least in 2021, it doesn't take 60 nights to get to globalist status. It takes 30 nights. They cut in half the elite status requirements for 2021. And so, because in January and February, you can get double elite nights from any stay. And because you need 30 to get to top tier globalist status, 15 nights is all you need during that period. Doubled becomes 30.
15.
Just 15. So
15 nights. Are you listening out there? Hello.
This is suddenly not even necessarily in the realm of mattress running anymore. This is like engineering your stay, like real vacations, to get top tier status. With two week-long vacations is pretty much there. And so, I've got one plan that's, I can't remember now, 7 or 8 nights that ends in the beginning of January, which I think I'm going to keep. And I think I'm still going to do. So, if I was doing this, if I didn't already have a lot of elite nights from other things, I would only need one more week, end of January, anytime in February to get to globalist status. Come on.
That's insane. That's insane.
It's insane.
It's crazy. And globalist status, like Greg said, I mean, is the most valuable hotel elite status, hands down, bar none.
Yes.
Not even a Marriott person. If you work at Marriott, you know that Hyatt is the most valuable elite. All right, like nobody's gonna. Nobody. They might argue it in front of their boss, but nobody behind closed doors is really going to argue that Hyatt is anything but the most valuable top tier elite status. Now, mid tier. Right. Hyatt doesn't really compete, but top tier Hyatt is it. It's the status to have, and so to be able to pick that up with 15 nights, I mean, that's right. That's total insanity.
Right. Like with Marriott, I think you could get to silver status with that number of nights. You know? I
Right.
mean,
Right.
it's just a
And
ridiculously small number of nights.
and let's be clear about how long that will last, because you'll have status for the
Yeah.
rest of next year, right?
Right.
All the rest of 2021,
All of
all of
2021. Yeah.
2022, until
Right.
like March of 2023.
Right. So all through February of 23, and then it expires
There's
March
March
1st.
1st. Is how it is until March 1st
Yeah.
of 2020. So you're talking about 2 full years of globalist status for 15 nights.
Right. And it potentially is much easier than that, because if you signed up for the Hyatt World of Hyatt credit card since I think it was like October 1st or so, and by the end of this year, you get 10 elite nights as your starting point. So you would really only need 20 elite nights, but because of the doubling, you'd only need 10 nights in January and February to get to Globalist by the end of February.
That's just crazy. I mean, come on, that's out of this world. So that's
Right.
incredibly valuable. And again, even if you don't think you're going to travel much next year, like maybe you're looking at it and you're saying there's probably not going to be a widespread vaccine for the first half of the year or whatever. I'm not going to be comfortable yet the first part of 2021. That's toss that aside for a second.
Right.
And think about the fact that it's going to be valid all through 2022 also, and into the beginning of 2023. And you got to, I mean, if you don't think the travel is going to resume and be comfortable and normal again by then, we've got a much more difficult world ahead of us. And I prefer to assume that life will be normal enough again to invest 15 nights now. I mean, that's there's just such a good chance that you'll be able to leverage the status, even if you don't use it much next year, at least the year after that. So I mean, that's an amazing, unprecedented opportunity. And Greg had already, on a 30-night stay, had to create a spreadsheet so you could figure out whether you should use points or cash, because that's how good the opportunity is, that you had to consider whether you use points or cash on it at 30 nights. So now we get down to just 15 nights, or maybe even less, 10 nights if you got the credit card or whatever. So does it change the math at all? Does it change how you look at it in terms of how you would book it and why and all the rest?
It does. It changes a few things. So one thing that changes: before, you had to book it all at once, because if you broke it up, then some of the checkout dates would have been in 2020, and you wouldn't have gotten double elite nights in 2021. Now, though, because you have 2 full months in 2021, as I said earlier, you could do 5. Let's say you needed 15 nights because you don't have the credit card. Just as an example, you could do 5 nights at the beginning of January, 5 nights at the end of January, 5 nights in February, and you're done. So it changes the math that way. Another thing that changes, though, is it becomes more important to understand that Hyatt has separated out milestone rewards from elite status perks. So milestone rewards are rewards you get sort of every 10 elite nights that you earn during a calendar year, starting at 20 elite nights. So when you hit 20 elite nights, they give you some upgrade certificates to get into the lounge, and 30, they give you some more of those certificates and also give you a free night, and so on. Then at 50 nights, they give you 2 suite upgrade awards, which are super valuable because you can use one of these certificates to upgrade, for example, a 7-night stay that's booked with points or with cash, and upgrade to a suite. And you could do that at time of booking, which is fantastic. No other hotel chain has anything like that. And then you get those again at 60 nights, along with a category 1 through 7 free night that you get then. So there's a bunch of different perks you get along the way as you keep going every 10 nights. And so the interesting thing here is if this promotion or set of promotions causes the elite ranks to swell a lot, people are worried about losing their upgrades. Well, so there's free upgrades that globalists get when you check in. You could get upgraded to a suite. If there is a lot of competition, you might find that you're not upgraded to a suite because of people have already gotten there and already gotten the upgrades. So a way of protecting yourself is to try to earn 50 nights so that you get those suite upgrade awards, so that you can, at the time of booking, upgrade to a suite on stays that are important to you to be in a suite. So you have that option. So I think that while the decision is much easier, like I think almost every frequent traveler ought to be at least considering doing enough to get to globalist, much harder decision. Do I go much further to try to get those suite upgrades and other perks that you get along the way, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a dilemma that I found myself in right away when I started to read about this. And I said, oh my goodness, wow. I could pick up globalist status with just 15 nights. I had this 30-night mattress run booked. Should I give up the 30-night mattress run and go for 15 nights because I can get globalist status very easily? Should I go after this 30 nights and keep it as is because then I'll get the full range of milestone benefits? I mean, let's not leave out the fact that you also get a free category 1 to 7 night along the way if you do this. So if you say 60 nights, you're going to end up with. Let me back that up. If you earn 60 elite nights, which if you do that 30-night mattress run we've been talking about forever that checks out in the beginning of January, you're going to end up with 60 elite nights.
Yeah.
And if you have that 60 elite nights, then you're going to get club lounge upgrades that don't matter to you at all anymore because you got globalist status, but you'll also get a category 1 to 4 free night certificate, a category 1 to 7 free night certificate, and 4 suite night upgrades once you've gotten to 60 nights. So, I mean, that's a pretty compelling suite of benefits, so to speak. Whereas if you only do the 15-night mattress run in the beginning of 2021, it'll give you 30 elite Hyatt nights. You will get that free category 1 to 4 free night certificate, but you won't get any of those other milestone benefits. I also left out the 5,000 points you can pick up at 40 nights, I guess. So yet another one for somebody who stays more nights. But if you just do the 30 nights, you're going to get a category 1 to 4 certificate, no suite upgrade awards, right? You don't get any of those yet.
That's right.
30.
So it kind of depends how much you value those as to whether it's worth going further. And it's interesting. I created spreadsheets to help figure all this out. So you mentioned one of the tabs on the spreadsheet that helps you figure out should you book with points or cash. Another one helps you figure out how much you value these different levels of status and milestone rewards. So I updated that tab, like I added a new tab where for next year you get to globalist status at 30 nights, but you also only at 30 nights only get the regular 30-night milestone rewards and have to get to 60 nights to get the really, or 50 nights to start getting the really good stuff. What I found interesting in looking at the sort of bottom line when I put in my numbers to that new spreadsheet is that it kind of smoothed out the numbers a little bit. And let me explain that in the original spreadsheet, the cumulative value of getting to like 20 nights or 30 nights or 40 nights or 50 nights, well, let's say 40, up to 40 nights, wasn't all that big, but getting to 50 nights, there was suddenly a big jump, and then 60 nights was a huge jump as far as the cumulative value. But now what we're seeing is really big jump at 30, another big jump at 50, and another jump at 60. And so it makes it less. So before it was like, if you're going to mattress run at all, you have to go to 60. It was like just not worth it if you didn't do that. Now it's like, it's absolutely could be worth it at 30, but depending on your situation, it absolutely could be worth it to go further as well. Not sure I can figure out a 40-night plan. Why anyone would do that? Because you just get like
5,000 points,
5,000 points, or $100 gift card.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something that everyone needs to I think look at.
So what should I do? I mean, if it was just your opinion, I say, well, what should I do, Greg? Should I keep my 30-night mattress run and get the full 60-night benefits, all the whole suite of benefits right from the get-go? Or should I just do 15 nights next year? Because let's not forget, if you do 15 nights in January, February, you're going to end up with 30 elite nights. And you have the rest of 2021 to pick up the other 30 if you really want to hit those other milestone benefits. You can legitimately stay another 30 nights throughout the course of the year. And who knows, maybe they'll run another double elite credit promo or something like that makes it a little bit easier to get there. So does it
And
make
during those stays, you'll have the globalist status, so you get all the
exactly
perks that you want, except for confirmable suite upgrades in
right,
advance.
right?
So yeah, I mean, how much you did the math for your post about the 30-night mattress run, so you came up with a valuation for those free night certificates. Are they worth half? Well, that's extreme because you also came up with valuations for other milestone rewards
Right,
that you get along the way.
right.
But are I would go back to that math and say, is it worth it? The price I'd be paying for another 15 nights, is it worth it to get these extra milestone rewards?
See,
And
and you're right, and that's entirely what I should do. But I'm not going to even be that analytical. I'm going to say, of course, I'm going to do the 30-night mattress run still because,
really,
yeah, absolutely. Like it's not even a question for me because
wow,
I the suite upgrades are the majority of the reason why I want to have globalist status, right? Because I travel with a family now. I've got 2 kids. I need the extra space. The suite is super convenient to be able to put kids to bed and have a separate space for 2 different kids and whatnot. So the confirmable suite upgrades in advance are the most valuable perk to me of the whole bit. Now, the free night certificates, like a category 1 to 7, is also really nice. And
yeah,
here's the thing, I probably won't use any of that in 2021. Like I may
right,
take a trip or two. Maybe I'll use one suite night upgrade next year, but I'm really counting on hopefully using those awards in 2022. So I'm like trying to save them up and get them in advance. I don't think I'm going to travel enough next year. I don't think I'm going to do 30 more nights on top of this next year. So I think in 2022 I'm going to make up for lost time, and I'm going to get out there and travel a lot. So I want to have those 4 suite night upgrades for sure. I like not having any of them to me is like I don't know.
well, so hold on a minute. I think your best play is
Okay.
to go to 50 nights then, because once you use if you use the suite upgrades this year, I mean in 2021,
If I do,
if you do, right?
then
Okay, so that's the question.
that's the
If you
question. Yeah.
do, even at the end by the end of the year, if you ended up using both of them, you'll probably have gotten to the full 60 nights and earn some more. What I
That's
can't,
totally true. You're absolutely right. I mean, if I used 2 of them, presumably I would have stayed at least 10 nights, right? And so those 10 nights hopefully will have earned me the 60 that we're talking about to get the entire, the extra 2 suite upgrades and the category 1 to 7 night. You're totally right. I just don't have confidence that I'm surely going to be able to do that next
uh-huh,
year. And I definitely want the suite night upgrade. So
right.
to me, it's worth the additional investment to know that I've got 4 of them lined up for 2022. And if I get to use 1 or 2 of them next year, hey, awesome. That's great. But I don't want a chance that I don't get there.
All right. One other
Go
consideration.
ahead.
I don't remember off the top of my head how this works. How long are these suite upgrades good for? Like, is it relative to when you earn them, or is it one of those for the rest of is it sort of like the elite status, the rest of this calendar year, all of the next, and through February of the year after that?
I thought, and wait, now that you mention it, I better check on this after we finish recording. But I thought that they are now. Originally, they started out and they were only valid for a year from the day you earned them, and
Right.
people argue that that was ridiculous. I remember Lucky arguing a number of times that it's disincentivizing people to stay when they're close to hitting
Right.
status for a while because they may want to hold off so they can have the suite upgrade award to use during the vacation they really want to use it. And so it just was a silly thing. And as I recall, I believe Hyatt changed that because I think at some point they realized this is silly. We're
I
encouraging
think you're right. I think
not
they
to
did
stay.
change it.
So,
I think it's okay.
so
So
I think
I
it's
don't I
fairly
don't
short.
think you have to try to game it by getting it late in the year. But if we're wrong about that would be a consideration for you.
That certainly would be a consideration.
Same for the category 1 through 7 certificate also.
Right.
Because you wouldn't want that to expire without
No,
without being
and
used.
that's a good point though. Actually, the free night certificates I don't think work the same way because I
Mm,
earned a category 1 to 4 last year and it was
right.
valid for 6 months, but they extended it, of course, because of the pandemic. So I don't think that actually, now that you mention it, those free night certificates may not be valid for very
Right.
long. They may
I
both be
think
6 months.
that's right. I think that's right. I think it's
Yeah.
6 months. So something for you to think about.
That
Mm,
that's definitely is right. Yeah, because you mentioned that's because I don't know. Will I use those within the first 6 months of 2021? I wasn't sure that I would. So
yeah. See, I don't know. I feel very confident that I'll be back to traveling a lot by let's say fourth quarter next year, at the latest. Um, so, I wouldn't. So, to the extent that other people feel that way, I would recommend, uh, only going to 50 nights early in the year, if it means mattress running and just
Reasonable.
having a wasted stay, basically. That only go to 50 nights so that your actual stays where you're enjoying elite status, you're enjoying your upgrade certificates and all that stuff are what's going to get you to the 60, and then you'll get you'll have that category 1 through 7 certificate for a time period in which you're more likely to be traveling a lot.
Yeah, that's actually a really reasonable strategy. That makes a lot more sense. Perhaps I was pretty firm that I was going to do the 60, but that actually does make a lot of sense, because then worst case scenario, if you really want those other upgrade awards, then you might just run the additional 10 nights, right? So yeah, it's going to end up costing you 10 nights. So
It'll cost you more. Yeah,
a little bit more, but
it costs you 10 nights instead of 5 if you
right,
literally had no stays
right,
throughout the year and you
right.
got to December and you're like, uh-oh. But what's the chance of having no stays? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point, an optimistic viewpoint, and probably a reasonable one for a lot of people. So
right.
yeah.
And if by the end of the year we're dealing with COVID-20 or COVID-21, then they'll probably extend the certs again.
Right. And
hopefully roll over our
elite
nights or something.
Yeah. Watch, they'll throw triple nights at us at some point and be like, oh man, I wish I had done fewer nights to begin with. So
right.
But the other reason that I'm tempted to go for the full 60 nights right off the bat is because I do recall that. So Stephen Pepper got the American Airlines elite status last year because they gifted that to a number of globalist members. And the way I recall that happening was that some globalist members were proactively contacted by their concierges in order to get the status. And then not everybody got contacted. So some people started reaching out to their concierge to say, hey, what about me? Right? Do I get it too? And as I recall, those types of emails continued to happen into January, where globalists were like, hey, can I get in on that too? And people were getting the elite status. So
right.
I am interested in being able to get that, only because I do have a speculative trip booked in economy class where having globalist status would be helpful to at least get like an exit row or something. Executive platinum to get at least an exit row or something. So if that trip happens, which obviously I'm not confident whether or not the trip will happen, and if it does, there is not a Hyatt hotel where I'll be going. So the Hyatt status itself won't help me, but being able to get American Airlines status would in that case. So it's not the main reason I'm mattress running for globalists, but it's like, be a nice little cherry on top if it were to come through. So that would be nice. The other thing is you only get a concierge if you hit 60 nights, right? So
that's right.
If that matters to you, I don't know if it does to me or not, because I feel like I've heard really mixed reviews, and some concierges being excellent and some being not excellent. So I don't know whether that matters.
So I've had the concierge now for, I don't know, some number of months, and I've used them. For the most part, I've been happy with what she's done, but I haven't noticed a particularly better outcome than going through Twitter and direct messaging Hyatt concierge. So
I don't know. So the example that comes to mind is, so I've had a couple last year. I had several stays that friends booked for me as guest of honor bookings for me and for other people who are traveling with me. So I had a few different friends booking guest of honor stays for me, and I remember that one person's concierge was very difficult, slow in getting back, and not easy to work with and get it booked. Whereas somebody else's concierge, it was just a matter of firing off an email, and half an hour later it was done, kind of a thing.
Right. It's possible. Here's a kind of interesting thing. So we haven't talked about the devaluation of Hyatt globalist status.
We should.
If everybody is elite, then nobody's elite. That kind of thing. And we should talk about that. And
sure.
maybe you're saving it for the post roast. I don't know.
No, I'm not. That's something we should talk about. Yeah.
But before we talk about that, it occurs to me there's a possible what's the opposite of devaluation? devaluation of
Revaluation.
revaluation. There you go, of my concierge, because I expect that they're going to have a lot fewer 60-nighters out there than even if they keep the globalist ranks high or higher, whatever. I expect that the number of 60-night people is going to be less, be fewer people with access to my Hyatt concierge, and so maybe they'll have more time to actually focus on their valued, customers. So that'd be interesting. Well, I guess we'll find out.
Well, we will. So, all right, that naturally segues us then into talking about that. So, I mean, this is obviously a no-brainer opportunity for people who travel with any kind of frequency, value Hyatt even a little bit. I mean, even a
Right.
modicum of value there. 15 nights is kind of, when I talk about globalists, so I have not been as big of a Hyatt fanboy as everybody else, only because I'm jealous. I don't stay 60 nights a year in hotels, right? So like,
Right.
I'm never going to make 60 nights. Back when you could do 25 stays and they could be one night stays, I like stretched in order to hit that a couple of times, but no way I'm going to stay 60 nights usually. I just don't stay
Right.
that many nights in hotels usually. So, and especially not in one brand. So I was just not going to hit globalist status before, but now it's definitely, well, I mean, 15 nights to get the same thing that would normally cost you 60 is pretty crazy.
And not only that, to put that in perspective, we've been jealous of people who work for companies where they could get the Hyatt challenge, where it took, I think, 20 nights.
Something like that, yeah.
To get globalist, 20 nights in a short period of time.
We'll be like, how come Frequent Miler isn't set up for that? Like, come on,
right.
Greg, let's go.
What's wrong with that corporation?
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. And so this is less than
Right.
that, and you're getting more perks than usual. Yeah, I mean more points back and all kinds of things. There's that work from Hyatt rate that lets you get all kinds of extra perks during longer stays. Just all kinds of things going on at once that make it so much better than a 20-night challenge.
So everybody's going to want to do this, right? I say everybody. Lots of people that are listening. If you're listening to this, you're probably at least
thinking about it.
Thinking about this, right? I mean, there's a good chance anyway. So with all of these people at least thinking about it, and many likely to do it, right? Many of the people that are reading blogs and following this kind of thing are likely to put this together. Are you going to have any value in being globalist? Is it just going to all be torn away? I mean, you wrote a post about that this week. So what do you think? I mean, does that not totally devalue the status if everybody has it?
Yeah. So, most of the perks that are really good, or many of the perks that are really good, aren't limited resources. Things like free parking, free breakfast. Those are things that, Hyatt or the hotel has to pay for, but, you're not going to get worse free parking because there's 20 other globalists staying at the hotel at the same time as you, right? It'll be just as good as it was if there were no other globalists there. There are a couple things that could be impacted, and I already mentioned before that upgrades at the time of check-in. Yes, obviously, if there's more globalists than before at that hotel, you're going to be fighting for more upgrades. Another one is lounge access. You'll still get the lounge access, but it could be more crowded than it would have been.
Not to mention the fact that lounges, I don't even know what they're like right now. I haven't been in a Hyatt lounge in quite a while, so I don't know if that's as desirable as it once was. I mean, certainly the idea of grabbing the buffet spoon that everybody else has been grabbing is slightly less appealing than it once was. So
right. Well, I mean, and that's a good point. At least for the time being, that might not matter much, especially because if they have like the airport lounges, a lot of them have grab and go food now. If the hotel lounges have the same thing, then unless people picked over it all before you got there, it's not going to be crowded in the lounge because people will just take it and leave. Mm-hmm. So then the other thing that I think might affect some people is if there's a lot of globalists is things like 4 p.m. late checkout, which is guaranteed at a lot of Hyatt hotels, but not at all of them. It's not guaranteed at resorts and casino properties and a couple others. And so if a lot of people are competing for that 4 p.m. late checkout and there's a lot of people checking in, that next day, then of course you might not get that request met.
But you argued that you don't really think that that's going to be the case, right? You argued that
I don't. So I think, and this is totally, without having any real numbers, but just sort of logically, I bet that the vast majority of Hyatt globalists in the past has been and is sort of today as well, because people who are globalists today are that because they had earned it from previous travel, are business travelers who, travel a lot for business. They're on the road all the time. And, so the vast majority of those business travelers are now Zoom participants as opposed to travelers, right?
right.
And so I don't see that crowd jumping on this 15-night thing. Like they won't even be all that aware of it. Like they might, some people who care about their status will probably be aware of the third that it got reduced from 60 nights to 30. But understanding how that combines with the other promotions and knowing you could get there in half that, most people aren't going to be aware of that. So so I think that the big trend, even with them cutting the night requirement down to 30, the big trend is for them to be actually losing globalists as opposed to gaining them. But there will be a pocket of people, and that will be the miles and points crowd, the people who are fans of our show, who read the blogs and everything. And yes, there'll be a lot of people in that crowd that are suddenly globalists that weren't before, hadn't thought about it
you're going to be in the
before.
lounge looking around and being like, I've seen that person's profile picture in Frequent Miler Insiders before. Like, I know that person.
Right. But think about these people. So these are people who didn't have status before with Hyatt for a reason, which is that they're not business travelers who are on the road every day. And so
hello.
even once, right. And so even once they have globalist status, it's not like they're going to be on the road every day. So they're not going to be in Hyatt hotels, 60 nights in 2021 or 2022. They'll be, at hotels, maybe 15 nights or, something much less. They'll be getting a lot of value from it during that time, but it's not going to be like they're there all the time. And so that means that even if the number of globalists stays the same because business travelers go down, but the number of hobbyists goes up, I expect that the number of globalists on average at a Hyatt hotel at any given time, like across the world, will be less than before, and so that's actually good news. The bad news is
you had an interesting theory on the bad news.
Right. So the bad news is, and I'm pretty confident of this.
I think you're probably right.
That there are certain hot properties. I know that I and Lucky over at 1 Mile at a Time always rave about Ventana Big Sur, just as an example. The previous big hot spot, and you've raved about it, is the Grand Hyatt in Kauai, right?
Right.
There's certain properties like that get talked about a lot in the points and miles circles. And as a result, a lot of us go to these properties. And I know from experience, going to these properties like the Andaz in Maui, I run into people who recognize me. And that doesn't happen in most places. It's not like I'm well enough known to be recognized.
Exactly.
So, but in these places, it's because this crowd goes to it. And so those are the places where, yes, you might have less chance. You probably will have less chance of getting that upgrade at the time of check-in than you would have before. Is it going to be a big problem? I don't think so. I really don't.
I mean, especially not because, like you said in the post, if you have earned enough nights to get the suite night upgrades that are valid at the time of booking, then on those stays where it really matters to you, you're going to apply that in advance and have your suite night already set up and ready to go. Don't count on getting upgraded at check-in if you're staying at one of those hot properties that everybody's writing about in the blogs. Like that,
right.
It may not happen. I mean, it already may not happen. Like, I've gone to the Andaz Maui a few times and haven't seen any kind of meaningful, complimentary upgrade there.
Right,
So,
right.
and you have to fight in order to get like 2 o'clock checkout. Forget about 4 o'clock. 1 o'clock I had to fight for.
The-
Forget about like
yeah,
4 o'clock. So,
they're
uh,
tight with those perks.
yeah. So I mean, so some of those types of properties you're going to have trouble with anyway. I mean, in a normal world you'd
Mhm.
have difficulty. So it's probably not going to change when you get the hobbyists going after status and specifically looking to book trips to those places. But for the vast majority of Hyatts, I think you're totally right. You're not going to have much trouble at all. If you're anywhere other than those handful of places that everybody likes to write about. And let's be clear, there are a lot of nice Hyatts in the world. So it's not just the four
That's
or
right.
five that everybody's talking
No,
about.
no.
If that was it, none of us would be even talking about going after 15 nights. If it was four. I mean,
Right,
sure,
right.
Wyndham has 4 or 5 nice hotels somewhere, but nobody's talking about Wyndham status, right? And you can get it from credit card, but we're not talking about that for 4 or 5 Wyndham. We're talking about Hyatt because there are lots of great places to go. So you got tons of options. I think you're absolutely right. I think that was a really good observation to have made about it, that it's not really going to matter all that much if all the hobbyists go after it. And let's also remember that it gets really easy. We've said this before. When you're involved in this game, so to speak, and you read blogs and you're in the Facebook groups, it can be really easy to feel like everybody is doing this. You just have to stop and take a step
Right.
back and look around at your family and friends and say, wait a second, is everybody really doing that? No, they're not really doing this. This is like a really small niche of people
Yeah.
compared to the overall segment of travelers who might consider elite status. So, I don't think that it's going to make a measurable impact either. I think that initially I had the same fear everybody else, like, oh man, it's like, I mean, not going to get any benefits. I think you still will. I think it's still worth going after the Mattress Run, unquestionably.
Yeah, yeah. It occurs to me. I think there's a funny psychological thing too, which is if someone had earned 35 nights, uh, 45 nights during the year, and so they were 15 away from Globalist. Um, I feel like they would definitely be like trying to figure out, how do I get those extra 15, right?
Right.
And you'd be much more motivated because you have so much sunk into it. But now we are all 15 away or less if you have the World of Hyatt credit card. And so, so a lot of people won't do it, but it's just a almost
Yeah.
mind-bogglingly good opportunity to get top tier status.
You brought up the credit card, and we mentioned that in a kind of a fleeting pass there, but I know that you put that into the top picks now because you see an opportunity there.
Here comes the post roast. Let's go.
So no. I'm not going to roast it. Yeah, I'm going to ask you to defend it. So I mean, is it worth considering right now? I know you always feel like the Hyatt card is a good card to get, and I'm always kind of like, the Hyatt card doesn't excite me as much as it excites everybody else. But should it excite me now? Like, does this really make a big difference? Should I all of a sudden be like, oh no, that's a card worth going after? And here's part of the reason I'm asking. I've already got my 30-night Mattress Run booked. Should my wife be considering Hyatt Globalist status too? I mean, if she opened the card, she'd get 10 nights, right? Because if you open the card now, you get 10 nights towards status next year, right?
Yeah.
Is that enough?
I mean, I don't see any value in having two people in your family both having that status.
A chance to give them Sweet Night awards.
Well, okay. Do you think you'll use them all? I mean,
not necessarily, but I'm asking you. I mean, is it worth?
I don't think that's worth getting a second person. But as far as sort of the, is it exciting? Is it worth getting now? It was, to me. It's not that the bonus is that big. Like, the bonus is the same. The 50,000 points, that's the same. It's been for a long time. The thing that's different is one, that you get 10 elite nights for 2020 and 2021, and then it goes back to the usual 5 elite nights each year after that. And even that, like, by itself, that wasn't that exciting. The reason it's exciting is because of all this other stuff going on. Suddenly, it's like, whoa, you can get there in 15 nights, but if you have this credit card, you can get there in only 10 nights because, we talked about why.
And to be clear, that's not just if you have the card, that's if you get the card new, right? Because that's
right.
Part
of
the current bonus,
right?
Not for existing cardholders.
That's right. Existing cardholders only get 5 elite nights each year, which means that in the 2021 you need 25 nights to get to Globalist, which is unfortunate for the whole doubling math situation, because that means you need 12 and a half elite nights doubled, 12 and a half nights of actual stays double to get to globalist. Well, there's no such thing as a half elite night. So you'd really need 13, which doesn't sound all that different from 15. I mean, it's
It'll
not a
save
big,
you a
I mean,
little tiny bit.
saves you a little bit,
Yeah,
but,
not much.
what you could do is, just do the 13, do the 12, and then use one of your free night certificates to do another one at any time. Wouldn't have to be during the doubling, and then you'd get there.
So here's a question that I saw somebody asked in Frequent Miler Insiders that's very relevant to that point. So if you have the old World of Hyatt card, not the new, I'm sorry, the old Hyatt credit card, not the World of Hyatt one, the old Hyatt credit card was $75 a year or whatever it was, that has fewer perks, but it's still a good card to have, I guess. If you don't have the new version of the World of Hyatt credit card, right, the old one, it's going to get converted to the new one in January. And so you're going to end up with the new one, but you won't end up with a new card member's perks if you're an existing card holder. You'll just have 5 elite nights still. So if you have that old you have the old Hyatt credit card right now, should you cancel it and apply for the World of Hyatt credit card if you're under 524 and eligible? Should you cancel and re-up there in order to both get a welcome bonus and get 10 nights towards status? Is it worth it? Worth a 524 slot to get a card that you kind of already have?
Right. That's a great question. Wow. I don't know. I put it. It's sort of a question of of whether it deserves a spot in my top picks, and this is why I put it not in the top section of the most amazing opportunities, but at the top of the next section of my picks. So it is a very good offer. It's not mind-boggling. I would personally lean towards, I think, playing it safe. So the risk is that you cancel your old one, you apply for the new one and don't get approved, and then you don't get even the 5 elite nights each year, which you would have gotten had you just waited for it to change. So I guess it kind of depends how sure you are that you're going to get approved. That's
interesting. I'm surprised to hear you say that, because I thought before you finished that sentence, before you said play it, so when you said play it, before you got to the word safe, what I thought you were going to say that you'd play it as canceling the card now and waiting to see if they offer a better bonus, because the bonus right now is not mind-boggling. It's not amazing. It's not the best they've ever offered by far. They used to offer 2 free night certificates valid anywhere for years. That was the bonus until they started going to points. And so this 50,000 points is it's not bad, but you can open one of the ink cards for 75 right now, or 100 if you get the ink business preferred, and transfer those to Hyatt and have way more points. So I'm not particularly excited about the welcome offer on the Hyatt card at all right now, apart from if you really want those elite nights. And my argument would be it's not that special, because it's going to save you 5 nights next year. That's it. I mean, it's going to, instead of needing a 15 night mattress run, you'll need a 10 night mattress run. That to me is not enough value to make that a slam dunk card that you need to get right now. And you didn't say it was a slam dunk card that you need to get. So I'm not saying say that, but I think it's not worth converting, because you're going to lose the chance to get the card for a while, right? I mean, I guess maybe you won't lose. You could always cancel down the road and reapply if the offer goes, maybe you're right. Maybe you play it safe. And wait for a better offer. This offer doesn't excite me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what if they had an offer for sign up for the card now, and you'll get 20,000 points roughly, a free category 1 to 4 certificate, and 2 years of globalist status. Would that be exciting for you?
Off the top of my head, without doing any math, it sounds exciting. I mean, what am I missing here? Are you tricking me?
The reason I asked it in the way I did is that if you use the sign up bonus to book a Category 1 property for 10 nights. Actually, you'd only have to do, I think it's 9 nights, because when you meet the spend requirements for the bonus, you'll earn 2 elite nights that way. So you use 45,000 points for Category 1 for 9-night stay, and then you're going to get 25% of those points back. And I think it works out to you end up with about 20,000 points left over from the sign-up bonus and from the rebate. And then you get all the perks. You get the milestone rewards for 20 and 30 nights, which only a 30-night milestone reward matters. And you get globalist status for 2 years. So that's one way to think about it if you have a Category 1 property nearby.
I mean, that's an interesting way to put it. I feel like that's a post right there, but yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. I wouldn't have thought about it that way, although I guess you could then make a very similar argument on the ink cards, for instance, and how they can get globalist status for a couple of years and have a lot more points left over, or
That's true. You could.
Sapphire Preferred or whatever else. I mean, because they all come with more points than the Hyatt card does.
Right.
Of course, they don't come with the 2 elite nights for spending 5K, so that's your difference there. But
right. They also don't give you. You won't get 25% back on your mattress run. You get 15% by not having the card.
But that, I mean, that amount of difference is minute when you're talking about spending 45,000 points, right? I mean, you're talking about a difference of 10%, so 4,500 points, right? So
yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't say minute, but not a huge difference. I think it's more than made up for with the additional points in the
right.
offer,
Right.
So
you're kind of convincing me even more that people probably shouldn't risk. I think if you want the Hyatt card, just let it convert, because if you have a 524 slot, you could use it for more valuable offers with other things besides Hyatt. And this way you still are sure to have Hyatt. What you're losing out on is an extra 5 elite nights that you would get, and the sign-up bonus. But
we agree.
All right.
It's not worth applying for the World of Hyatt card is basically what we just said. So no, not exactly what we just said, but no, it's not worth canceling. I think you're right, because you would want to use that slot for more value. You can get similar value or better value with a 524 slot. So,
right.
So that's that. So keep your card. Whoever it was that asked about that, keep the card, let it convert. Don't play any games is the moral of the story. We ended up agreeing.
I think so.
All right.
All right.
So I think that brings us, that wasn't the question of the week. Oh, no. We have post roast. Do you have a post roast?
Post roast.
Greg?
Of course.
Oh, now I'm sweating.
All right. So let's see. You wrote about store cards that don't suck.
I did. It's true.
So store cards are like things like your Macy's card and your Banana Republic card and whatnot. So in that post, you talked about the Sears Mastercard and the version that earns ThankYou points.
Right.
Okay.
That is correct.
And
that one doesn't suck, right?
It doesn't suck at all. I mean, it's a very exciting card in that it offers all kinds of regular big earning promotions, and you're getting, instead of worthless shop your way points, you're getting ThankYou points. And it's very easy to get the Sears card that earns shop your way points, and it used to be easy to convert that to a card that earned ThankYou points. But you wrote in the post that you don't think it's easy to get the card as a product change option, though it may be possible in some circumstances. And so I was excited. I was like, oh, okay, great. What are those circumstances? Please elaborate. And so I clicked the more button that I couldn't quite find on the post, and
it was missing there. Huh?
Scan through the comments for your tips.
Must be your browser. Must be your browser.
Where were the details on that? Is it really possible, or were you just sort of saying it might be? I don't know.
Yes, it was more of the it might be, because I feel like I've heard it from several people over the last couple of years that somehow they got the conversion, and then in the comments of the post, if I recall correctly, somebody commented to say that they were successfully able to convert sometime within the last year. So,
oh, really? I missed that.
Yeah. So I think if I I'm fairly certain anyway. That's what the comment that I had read. Somebody had successfully converted to the thank you version. So I think it is possible. I don't think that there's like a set criteria. I think it's one of those weird things that some people get the ability to do it and some people don't. And so it's a bit of a gamble because you're going to, that's the key with it. You're going to waste a 524 slot on having to apply for the shop your way version of the card that nobody wants and, nobody should be applying for in the first place, to hope that you'll get an offer to upgrade that to the thank you version. And it's not a slam dunk. It's like probably not even a low shot, but an extremely low shot of being able to convert that over. However, like I said, I'm almost 100% certain that somebody in the comments had said they'd done it recently. And I've heard from people at conferences that it is still potentially possible that it happens now and then. I don't know if there's any secret sauce on it. I don't know what the secret sauce is.
All right. So as far as you know, they just call and ask, and some people are successful and some aren't.
I think you receive it. I think you receive an offer to upgrade via email. Was my impression, that you get an offer to upgrade to it, so to speak. I don't even think that. See, typically with Citi, you call and you tell them you want a product change, and then they say, okay, you can product change to, well, basically anything. Sometimes they'll start reading a list, but then basically, about 9 times out of 10, they're like, well, more or less anything you want. And so you could just go ahead and change to various different cards, but that card has not been something that's been widely available. And so I think, like I said, that it's an upgrade offer you get. But I honestly, I don't know. I don't have the card. I wish I did. So I don't have the card. I haven't tried for it because I'm not going to waste a 524 slot on hoping and praying that I get it. I'll just more so be jealous of all of the folks who do have it, who wasted that 524.
All right, here's an experiment. I could do this. What if I call and product change one of my useless thank you preferred cards to the Sears card, and then see if I get an opportunity to product change that to the thank you card?
I mean, there are worse things you could do with your time. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily a bad, especially because you're not really using probably all of those extraneous or extra cards that you have, because I'm sure you have a few of those dividend cards, right? So not
dividend, but
or
the no fee thank you preferred or rewards plus, which I have more than one of. Which having one is good. Having more than one doesn't seem to help.
Yeah. So I think that's fine. So somebody I did look through. I was looking through while we were talking about this. Somebody commented to say I was targeted in January to PC my cashback Sears to the thank you points version. They offered me 30,000 thank you points with 3,000 spent in 3 months.
Wow.
So the card is so great. So yeah, somebody had said in January of this year they got that opportunity. Another person had commented to say that they have the Sears Mastercard that is currently giving 25 points per dollar on utilities.
Wow.
25 points per dollar on utilities.
Right. So they're running around like asking their neighbors, "Can I pay your utilities?"
Right. They're reaching out to an apartment building manager to say, "Is there any chance I can just pay this? You pay me back, give you a little discount. Let me pay it."
Or prepay 10 years of your gas bill, whatever.
Right. Just how far will they let you go? So
yeah.
So all right. So it's possible. You're right. I did not include any instructions, so I wasn't.
So all of that dialogue would be great to throw in there.
There you go. All right. So I'll see what I can do about that. I don't know what post was for you. We talked about your posts at length here, so I'm just going to move forward into the question of the week.
All right, let's go.
Question of the week is, we have a habit, by the way, of asking question of the weeks where we don't know the answer to the question. And so, because I just pick these questions just to basically hear Greg shrug his shoulders and say, I don't know. So
that's my standard answer.
I got another one of those for you this week, but I thought it was interesting because I'd like to know your strategy. So Joshua in our Frequent Miler Insiders said, have an Amex Financial review phone date on Friday. It's the second one for my wife. The first one was 7 years ago. They wanted tax forms sent in and it was easy. This time I asked the guy if I could just send the forms in again. And he said, no, we might not even need the forms, but want to ask some questions about some of the account activity. Then he told me that my wife couldn't authorize me to speak on her behalf. She has to do the call herself. I'm quite comfortable on these calls, but she's not. Anyone have ideas about what she can expect to be asked or what the best answers are when they ask why a teacher is spending so much?
Oh, wow.
So
sounds like someone's doing a little manufactured spending with her Amex card.
Sounds that way. So, so I guess first of all, what do you know, or what do you think somebody could reasonably expect from a financial review call? What would be your strategy? That's really what I'm interested in. What would be your strategy in terms of answering those questions? Like, why and how are you spending so much money? You don't have that kind of a salary written. I mean, and
Right.
that's a question that you could be
So
asked presumably at some point, right? I mean, so
yeah. So, in the past, I've always said, like, in most cases, it pays to just be completely honest about what you're doing. But in this case, what I would do, I wouldn't lie about anything. But what I would do is focus all my answers on not what I'm doing or why, but rather um, why I know I can pay, why I'm not going to go default on these charges, right? That we have all this savings over here, or and if that's not true, if you don't have like savings to cover like the spend so that you can show that you're good for it, then that could be pretty risky. But assuming you do, assuming you have like you know some accounts that you'd be willing to share with them the balances of and say, look, I've got all this, and so I'm comfortable that I can keep up this level of spend, and I never have to worry about whether or not I can pay it back. Or maybe not a bank account, but some sort of income that you have that that you could show that money's constantly coming in. That's enough to cover these things. That's what I would focus on, and try to basically dodge the specifics of what I'm buying, assuming what they're buying is gift cards or some other financial equivalent that is explicitly not allowed by Amex. But if it comes down to that's not enough, I would tell the truth, because I think then you're more likely to have points clawed back rather than have your account shut down. Um,
that makes
so yeah,
sense. That makes. I knew you would. You're an honesty is the best policy kind of person, so I knew you wouldn't advise lying about it. But I was curious what you would say to do, because, yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation to be in if you're spending more than you theoretically should be spending. But I think that's as good a strategy as any, explaining why you can afford to do it, and how you can afford to pay it back, and you're not a default risk. Because I mean, really, at the end of the day, that's the risk that the bank is trying to assess, right?
right.
Are you
That's what
gonna
for the
run away?
financial review they're worrying about. They're not the rat team that's trying to catch you for manufactured spending.
Right. Right.
But you want to sort of avoid them handing you off to the rat team. So
Right. Exactly.
make them feel good that you're not going to default, and you'll probably get through it.
That's a good point, because that's what the financial review is all about, to make sure that you don't default. And that person is probably not as well versed and or as concerned.
Maybe not. Right.
Maybe not anyway, as well,
Right.
much concern. Now, the other interesting piece there was, he said that he was told that he wouldn't be able to talk on behalf of his wife. And that's something that maybe some readers don't know, that is often an option. So, I thought that was also worth addressing quickly, that, that's something that, have you found in your experience that many issuers will allow for you to, for example, for you to talk on behalf of your wife, or wife to talk on behalf of your son, to be able to talk on behalf of somebody else? Is that something that's usually an option?
Uh, so a lot of people do that routinely, where they'll have their spouse call and say, "I'm going to hand you over to my spouse to because I want them." And people tell me all the time that's what they do routinely. I've tried it a couple of times and it didn't really work out that way. Like the people on the phone kept talking to my wife, and she was mad at me because I promised her that she wouldn't have to talk, and they made it harder on her. And I'm sure there were some magic words that she could have used to hand the phone over, but I kind of burned that path,
A long time ago.
So yeah,
Huh?
so that's a problem, and if you have a spouse like I do who doesn't like and will do anything they can to avoid being on the phone with banks and this type of thing, especially because she doesn't know you know anything about this stuff, and so doesn't really know you know why we're doing what we're doing on the card. It would be very uncomfortable for her, and so I feel for, you said Josh, I think.
Yeah.
I feel for him or his wife, because I know that in my case, my spouse would be very mad at me if she was forced to do a call like that. And
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's worth keeping those risks in mind when you're, engaging in activity that might draw that kind of a phone call, I guess. But also good to know what some of the options are and some of the strategies anyway. Many people have made it through financial reviews just fine. Sometimes that kind of call, from my understanding, can be actually relatively easy. It's not always the big intimidating thing that people make it out to be. Now, if you're spending a lot more than you quote unquote should be for wherever they see your income and means, then certainly it's possible it may be a more challenging call, but it's worth answering. And I think, like Greg said, honesty is typically the best policy. So
Yeah.
best of luck to you and anybody else in that kind of a situation. So
Right. And just one last thing, of course, Josh's wife has the option of changing her name to Josh, and then Josh should be able to do the call without lying about it or anything.
You guys will be all set there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you've enjoyed this week's show and you'd like to read more about what we've been talking about, you want to get on our email list so you can find out all about the latest posts as soon as they happen. You want to go to frequentmiler.com/subscribe. Again, that's frequentmiler.com/subscribe in order to get on our email list and follow us on social media. Thank you guys all very much for being out there today, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thanks, everybody. Bye now.